Right now, every single human being alive on Earth, all 8 billion of us, comes from the same tiny group of survivors, not a tribe, not a village. A number so small it would fill a single apartment block. 74,000 years ago, something happened that almost deleted every one of us. A supervolcano in what is now Indonesia erupted so violently it turned the sky dark for years. Not days, years. And in March 2026, scientists finally found the proof of how we survived. It wasn't weapons, it wasn't war, it wasn't even intelligence. It was fish. And if you find that hard to believe, stick around. Because this is the actual story of why any of us exist at all. Let's start with the scale of what happened. 74,000 years ago, Mount Toba in Sumatra erupted. Not like a normal volcano, like nothing the modern world has ever seen. Toba blasted 2,800 cubic kilometers of ash into the atmosphere. To put that in perspective, the largest volcanic eruption in recorded modern history was Mount Tambora in 1815. Toba was more than 100 times larger. The ash clouds spread across South Asia, the Middle East, and East Africa within weeks. Sulfur dioxide poured into the upper atmosphere and reflected sunlight back into space. Global temperatures dropped by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius almost immediately. The sky went dark, crops died, animals died, forests died, and humanity, which at that point numbered somewhere around 1 million people scattered across Africa and parts of Asia, began dying too. What happened next is called the Toba catastrophe. And the genetic evidence for it is written in every single human body alive today. Here is how scientists know. When they map human genetic diversity, the variation in DNA across all populations on Earth, they find something that should not be possible. Humans are remarkably genetically similar, far more similar than you would expect for a species that has been around for 300,000 years. Chimpanzees living in a single forest in Africa have more genetic diversity than all 8 billion humans on Earth combined. That is not normal. That only happens when a population goes through what geneticists call a bottleneck, a catastrophic reduction in numbers so severe that almost all genetic diversity is wiped out. The survivors, whoever they were, become the ancestors of everyone. And the current estimate for how small that surviving group was? Somewhere between 3,000 and 10,000 breeding individuals. Not 3,000 to 10,000 people total. 3,000 to 10,000 people capable of having children. That is it. That is everyone you are descended from. That is everyone anyone is descended from. Now here's the 2026 discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about how they survived. A University of Texas research team published a study in Nature in March 2026. They were excavating a site called Shinfa Matema 1 in Ethiopia. And using microscopic volcanic glass chemically matched to the Toba eruption, they proved something extraordinary. Humans were living at this site immediately before and immediately after the eruption. They didn't die. They didn't flee. They stayed. And they adapted. But here is the part that nobody expected. The researchers analyzed the food remains at the site. Before the eruption, the people at Shinfa Matema 1 hunted large animals. After the eruption, when the ash had killed the large animals and darkened the sky, they changed. Fish consumption went from 14% of their diet to 52%. They moved to river corridors where fish were still available. They invented new arrow-like stone tools specifically designed for the changed environment. They didn't pray for the sky to clear. They didn't wait for things to go back to normal. They looked at the river, and they ate fish. Think about what that actually means. The people at this site were watching their world end. The sky was dark. The animals they had always hunted were gone. The plants they had always eaten were dead. Everything they knew about survival, every skill passed down through generations, suddenly didn't work anymore. And instead of giving up, instead of doing what they had always done until it killed them, they changed. They looked at the river and saw food where they had never looked before. They invented new tools for a new reality. They followed the water instead of chasing the animals. That decision, made by a small group of desperate humans on the banks of a river in Ethiopia 74,000 years ago, is the reason you exist. Not their strength, not their weapons, not their numbers. Their willingness to change when everything around them changed. Now here is the philosophical gut punch. Every human alive today, every single one of the 8 billion of us, is descended from that tiny group. If the people at Shinfa Matima 1 had not adapted, if they had kept hunting large animals that were no longer there, if they had refused to eat fish, the chain breaks. No Romans, no Renaissance, no Shakespeare, no Einstein, no internet, no you. You exist because at least one of those few thousand humans made the decision to adapt, to look at a world that had completely changed and find a new way to live in it. And here is what makes this even more unsettling. We came extraordinarily close to not making it. 3,000 to 10,000 breeding individuals. Picture that. Take a mid-sized music concert. 10,000 people. That is the entire future of humanity. Every person who will ever live. Every civilization that will ever rise. Every idea that will ever be thought. Every love story that will ever happen. Compressed into the people who could fit in a single venue. One bad season, one failed harvest, one disease sweeping through that small group, and the chain breaks. And the universe never knows that humans existed at all. We think of humanity as inevitable, as the dominant species, as something permanent and unstoppable. But 74,000 years ago, we were a bad fishing season, away from disappearing forever. And the only thing that saved us was a group of people in Ethiopia who looked at a dying world and decided to try something different. They chose the river. They chose the fish. They chose to change, and because they did, you are here, reading this, thinking about it, existing. All 8 billion of you. Descended from the people who refused to stop. Drop a comment below. Does knowing how close humanity came to extinction change how you see your own existence? Subscribe for more ideas that change how you see the world, and watch this next, because the next one goes even deeper into where you actually came from.